As you can see, this is a little project by the name of SpaceX, Space Exploration Technologies. We've been working with them for about a year now. It's paramount in its implications. It's what we call in the industry a game changer. So what you see here is a rocket that will be getting launched into space. This is at their site in Cape Canaveral. This is it's close to 200 feet. It's about 180 foot long rocket. So that's what we would be looking at for this area. Before I get into the nuts and bolts of the actual presentation, I want to go through some of the terminology that's used. There's been a lot of talk about this project, a lot of hype, a lot of, no pun intended, a lot of buzz. But there has not been too many inaccuracies, but there has been a few words that have been swapped around, and one of them is spaceport. The spaceport is a site that's capable of launching a spacecraft, and this spacecraft in particular is pretty much a jet with wings, and it would launch horizontally, and this would be at an airport pretty much with an extended runway, and it would have to do a complete orbit before it would actually crack the atmosphere and get into space. So that's really what a spaceport is. There's not that there are a dime a dozen, but there's quite a few of them out there in the United States. A space station, this is the International Space Station. This is where several countries dock off and deliver their astronauts. A rocket launch site, that's an area with launch pads with a large safety buffer zone, and these are used purely for suborbital flights. This is for the big boys, the huge rockets. This is a space shuttle. So they take off vertically, they crack the atmosphere before they take one lap around the globe, and then they get into space. The Launch Command Center, that's Houston, the Houston Command Center, there's one that controls all of them here in the United States for the launch sites. And there's a spaceport, a launch complex. That's an area with several launch sites and spaceports all in one, and the biggest one being Cape Canaveral. Rockets most easily will reach suborbit, that is before they take one entire lap around the Earth. They'll most easily reach it when they're closer to the equator. So as you can kind of see now how Brownsville is starting to favor this project. The closer you are to the equator, the faster, the quicker you can get into space. You have to go in an easterly direction. And what they're using when they're launching off of Virginia and Florida, they're using the Earth's rotational speed, kind of like a slingshot. So that helps them boost and get into space quicker and faster using less fuel. Rocket launches, they need to be built far away from a populated area. They need to be close to a major body of water. And right now they're all currently on military sites. There's only 4 entities that have conducted suborbital space flights and actually retrieved the capsule. That's the United States, Russia, China, and Mr. Elon Musk, who's the founder, owner of SpaceX Technologies. Private spaceports, there's quite a few of them here in the U.S. There's one in Alaska, there's one in West Texas, and by all means I did not know anything about the aerospace industry when I first started working this project, but I have fully immersed myself in it. I'm not an expert, but I know a thing or two. There's one out in West Texas, the Corn Ranch Spaceport. And keep in mind, these are spaceports. They're basically airports with extended runways. They take off horizontally. Out of all of these, the one that is brand new, that was actually built from scratch, is the one in New Mexico. That's Spaceport America. The owner is Richard Branson, the multi-billionaire who's owner of Virgin Records. In this case, he has Virgin Galactic. That's a picture of his actual site in New Mexico. Quick little anecdote. This project was actually envisioned for El Paso, Texas. And something happened along the lines that I guess they were not vocal enough, or maybe perhaps they took it for granted that they were going to get this project. Little town, 50 miles away from New Mexico, 20,000 people. They were the ones that were very, very loud, very supportive of the project, hence they got the project. So we'll just keep that in mind going forward. And now Houston is jumping into the space race again with the Ellington Airport. They want to build a spaceport there. U.S. launch sites, there are 4 in the United States. There's 4 states that do this right now. There's Southern Florida, Virginia, then there's Southern California and Alaska. The difference between those on the West Coast and the East Coast is that those on the West Coast, they do the polar orbits, that is north and south. The ones on the East Coast are taking advantage of the slingshot theory, getting quicker to the equator. That's where Brownsville come in. Houston is command center for all of them. There are no private launch sites at this moment. They're all built on military sites. Willacy County, this is what they were doing about 12, 13 years ago. This is a picture of a 10-foot, 200-plus pound rocket. That's not the picture of the ones that were actually launched here, but it's similar to that one. As you can see, there's mountains there. There's no mountains here. But long story short, thanks to what Willacy was trying to do a dozen years ago or so, they built this consortium of several South Texas counties. The mentality was to build it and they will come. So they were somewhat ahead of the game back in the day. Another question that we get frequently asked is, are we going to be launching the space shuttle from here? And the answer is no, because it was retired last year. Beyond that, SpaceX does not fly space shuttles, and we would have the capacity to do that, but unless NASA would allow us to fly astronauts into space, we're not going to be doing that from here. We are going to have the rockets with cargo, satellites, and different payloads. From here, we're looking at the Falcon 9, which is a rocket with 9 engines launching from this area 10 times a year. And then the Falcon Heavy, that would be 2 launches a year from here, from this area. That would put us at about 12, pretty much 1 a month. SpaceX, just a quick overview on Elon Musk. He is a co-founder of PayPal. He made his money, about 10 years ago with PayPal, sold it to Yahoo. And he is also the owner and president and CEO of Tesla Motors. That's the electric sports car. He's also the owner and founder, actually, of Solar City. So he manufactures solar panels and distributes them throughout the United States. And he's also the inspiration for Tony Stark, who's the man behind Iron Man. He became good friends with the director of the film, and they used him as a model, as the inspiration for the man behind Iron Man. It's very interesting. He's got a cameo. His sports cars come out in the movie. He has the SpaceX, which is the first commercial company to re-enter his spacecraft from Earth into orbit. And the key here is he has secured $3 billion in launch business, which puts him at about 40-plus launch missions today. So he's got to get up and running and launch these. He's going to be launching one on May 7th, actually on Monday. So he's booked with business. So this is the opposite of build it and they will come. He's got the business. He needs to get it built pretty quick. He's got a contract with the U.S. government, NASA, as well as several domestic and international customers and governments. Headquarters, that's in Hawthorne, California. That's where they have, he's got his office and his manufacturing facility. What's interesting is, from one end you have steel coming in, and from the other you've got rockets coming out. We've been fortunate enough to meet with him 3 times already, twice at his facility, and it's a very, very impressive operation that he has there. Launch sites, he has one in Cape Canaveral, Florida, and he's currently finishing one up in Vandenberg, California. That one would be obviously for polar orbits. He's got a research center and a test site in McGregor, Texas. That's just, it's about 20 miles west of Waco. Other offices, he's got his general counsel in Washington, D.C., and then offices in Houston and Huntsville, Alabama, obviously staying close to the NASA offices. Right now, he's actually upward of 1,800 employees in all of his operations, and by this summer, he's going to be at about 2,000 employees. This is a 10-year-old company, so they're definitely in super growth mode. When we first met with the company a little over a year ago, we found that the Texas Aerospace Commission, and we found this out through SpaceX, that South Texas its location could rival that of Cape Canaveral. We're the southernmost point in the continental United States. We would obviously be flying over unpopulated area through the Gulf of Mexico. The trajectory path, which is interesting, if you were to locate anywhere between here and Cleburne County in the King Ranch, you would hit the Conas, which is the continental United States, and Cuba, and that's just perfect for what they need to do. Low population density, and what they like about, perhaps, if they were to do business here in the area, is that it would supplement their supply chain and logistics. So they would build it in California, they would test it in Waco, and they truck it down to Brownsville, Texas, where it would have final assembly, and then it would get launched into space. This is just a slide that shows the former facilities that used to use, and they're still in use today. That's like a 15-story high structure that was used for the space shuttle back in the days. It served its purpose back then. Today, we don't need that. They don't need that, at least. So they run a much leaner operation. The footprint would actually be 5 acres, so you just need that buffer zone. You need a 2-mile radius of a whole lot of nothing, which we have here on their proposed site. And the fuel that they would be using is kerosene and liquid oxygen, different from what the space shuttle and some of the other rockets used to use. This is basically what you use in your campfires. Here's a cross-section of some of the rockets that they've launched in the past. That's the F-9 Dragon, the Falcon 9. That one's going to get launched May 9th, and that's going to be, they're going to connect to the International Space Station. They're going to make space history by being the first private company to do so. At the end of this year, I think this one's already assembled as a F-9. It's a Falcon Heavy, and these are some of the ones that would actually be launched from this area. The Falcon 9 has 9 rocket engines. The Falcon Heavy has 27 rocket engines, which would put it a little faster than the Space Shuttle. Space Shuttle being the fastest of its kind in the world. And then the 2013, they would have the Dragon crew, which would actually take astronauts into space. That would not be envisioned here in this area. Here you can see the yellow push pin. This is where you would have the proposed site. It's pretty much right before you get to the beach, right behind the dunes, off of Highway 4. No major infrastructure is needed because it's a state highway. You have to keep in mind that he's got a solar panel manufacturing facility, so he's going to bank on that for some of his power needs. Water needs, not a lot of water needs. They need gray water for whenever they're going to launch a rocket. And then there's a red push pin that shows a location. Well, anywhere between that push pin and to the yellow push pin is where you would have their actual launch command center. Here's another overview of what would be their actual proposed site. And then this is just a visual as to what they have in Cape Canaveral. The one in Brownsville, if it would come to fruition, would look very similar to this one. The tallest structures you would have out there are these lightning rods. Florida actually has the highest lightning strikes per square mile in the world, I believe. So they need 4 of those. We would need probably a couple of those at the most, I think. That bulb that you see there, that's for the kerosene. Then you'll have a couple of hangars out there. One for the final assembly of the rocket, and the other one for office space and equipment as well. So why Brownsville? We were one of 10 sites originally considered in the 1950s by NASA. So I found that very interesting, how life has kind of come back in full circle, and here we are again competing for this project. That's a picture of the Falcon 9. We're the southernmost city in the U.S., we're right next to the Gulf of Mexico. So once you start to piece everything together, you know, I wish I could say that it was us, our strategic plan that got us out there, and we met with this company and we convinced them to get down here. It's actually purely site-driven. They found us by way of the governor's office, which we have a great relationship with, and we were one of more than a dozen sites being considered in South Texas. But when it all was said and done, our community did a fantastic job of meeting with this company and really just showing them who we are, which we're just common, practical Texas people here. And they really like that about visiting here in Texas, which is why I put on there, we're Texas. They love doing business here in the state. Right now they're in California, they also do business in Florida, and they also do business in Texas, and they like it here. This is just a quick chronology of when we first got the call from the governor's office in regards to the project. And within a couple of weeks, we already had a meeting with Elon Musk, and he gave us 2 hours of his time to really sit down and talk about the project. And that's when it really hit us that this is for real. Moving forward, we have, they are going now through their environmental impact study. They're going to have a hearing May 15th. They're going to have the first of 2, maybe 3 public scoping meetings. It's going to be at the ITEC campus. It's going to be from 5 to 8 o'clock. 5 to 6 is going to be, they're going to have some exhibits. The company will be here. They'll be on hand to answer questions, to meet with people one-on-one, to address any concerns that they have. And then from 6 to 8 o'clock, we're going to have the public comment period. And that's where we're going to have an opportunity to come out and support the project, you know, show them who we really are, which is Brownsville. Brownsville really believing in Brownsville, and that's what this project has done. It's really united a lot of the different entities and people in town. But please keep in mind that Florida and Puerto Rico are still viable options. Those are one of 3 sites that are being considered right now. Florida, being Florida, is not going to give up easily. This is what they do, and they're not about to lose it to Texas. And Puerto Rico has already been extremely aggressive in trying to recruit this project. It's put together a very good plan for them, but logistically, I think our site still makes sense. However, we still have a long way to go. We still have about another year before a decision would be made. We're looking at about $80 million in capital investment, 600 direct jobs. We're looking at about $55,000 minimum annual salary. This will put us at more than $50 million in direct annual salary into our region, really into our city. This is money from the heavens. This is money that we did not have. This is money that's going to go a long way for our region, and this is just one company. They will be paying 80% above county average wages. Then you would add another 400 indirect and induced jobs. Put us at about $71 million per year in economic impact here in the Brownsville area. Now, when they launch from Cape Canaveral, they attract about 40,000 visitors for every launch. We're not going to get 40,000 visitors. But after we did some number crunching, we found we're going to get between 7,000 and 10,000 visitors. We'll take that any day. And I can bet you that the hotel already booked for Isabel, South Padre Island. The entire region is going to benefit tremendously from this, to come and see these launches on a monthly basis. So beyond the numbers, we're looking at internship opportunities, Space Visitor Center, museums, new curriculums for the schools, college programs and partnerships. We've already met with a lot of environmental groups that perhaps have been concerned or had some concerns with the project, and a lot of them have already come out in full support and said, if you're able to mitigate certain risks, such as the sea turtles out on Boca Chica Beach or the piping plover, you know, everybody seems to be in full support of the project, and I don't see why not. I mean, this is the one. This is not the one project we're waiting for. This is the opportunity we're waiting for to go out there and show our support. So just in a nutshell, some numbers to keep in mind. He's got $3 billion in launch contracts, $50 million in annual salaries, money from the heavens, as I like to call it, upward of 10,000 visitors per month. But we are at a sensitive and a critical point right now, and this is an extremely young company, and they're very good, obviously, at what they do. That being said, they have totally immersed themselves in this community. They pay attention to everything and what everybody says in this community. May 15th is a public scoping hearing, and there's an email address for people to email their support on the project. And if anything, if this hasn't convinced you that this is a great project, when the LA Times was the first one, in addition to Space News and the Brownsville Herald, when they broke the story, this person called me up, and as soon as I answered the phone, he said, you know, I'll tell you something. You know, I did not know where Brownsville, Texas is. Now I do. And I'm pretty sure everybody's trying to figure that out right now. So we would literally, figuratively, get on the map nationally and internationally.
I'm sure we'll be in Bean's report next quarter.
Exactly, yeah. So I would also, you know, ask everybody to do their due diligence on the company. Log onto the website, see what you can find. You will be surprised that you're not going to find much negativity on this company, because they are who they are that they say. They've been, Elon Musk was on 60 Minutes last month. A great interview on 60 Minutes. And this 60 Minutes, they don't have to be nice. They don't play nice, actually. But they had a great piece on this individual. He was on the Jon Stewart show. He's been on David Letterman. Spectacular individual. And he has said that he wants to come into a community where he knows he's going to make a difference, but that he knows that he's also wanted. With that, I'm available for questions.
It's apparent you